Hi, my name's Anna and I'm from Mini Munch Club, and we're here today to talk to you about baby-led weaning.
My name's Sarah, I'm Anna's sister and I'm from Mini Munch Club too, and I've got two children, Josie who's 5 and Elwood who's nearly 3, and Anna's got Noah who's nearly 6 and Arlo who's 2.
Okay, so we were sort of talking today about how we found baby-led weaning a lot easier once we had our second children. Sarah did baby-led weaning with her eldest Josie. I wasn't able to do it with my eldest Noah because he was extremely premature, so he didn't have that coordination of hand to mouth when he was 6 months old, because he was obviously quite behind. So it wasn't something I did with my first child, but after seeing how well Sarah's eldest got on with baby-led weaning, it was no question for me whether I was going to do it with my second child, Arlo. And so as soon as he was 6 months old, that's what I started doing. And the way I started introducing it with him was that we would sit down to have our family meals in the evening. And initially, he would sit in the high chair with us at the table, and I would give him steamed vegetables, so carrot battens, and some broccoli or cauliflower florets and things that sort of fist size, so that he could pick it up with his fist, because initially they don't have the pincer grip until about 9 months, so it has to be food that they can pick up in a fist shape and take to their mouth. So that
they can't open their hand either in that early stage, so they can't pick up a handful of food and go like that. They have to pick it up, and it has to be something that they can put in their mouth with that grip. So that probably at the beginning, that's the slightly limiting factor with what foods you're going to prepare, because it has to be things like that, that they can do like that.
So for me, it was a no-brainer really. I mean, I found weaning Noah with puree and mush really stressful, just because of the having to prepare different meals for him and then different meals for my husband and I. And whereas with baby-led weaning, we all had dinner together and we had the same dinner. So I would just give Arlo part of what we were eating, and as time went on, all of what we were eating, depending on what it was. But initially it was mainly just sort of steamed vegetables. And he loved it. I mean, he loved being at the table, sat with us. It's very much a social thing, isn't it? And also my eldest loved teaching him, showing him how to eat. And the first few weeks were quite slow. It was very much about him just picking things up, sort of playing with things, sort of experimenting and investigating, really. And then as time went on, he would start taking things to his mouth, sort of sucking on things. But the chewing and the swallowing didn't really come for a good few weeks, because obviously they're actually learning that new skill, aren't they? Of the chewing and the swallowing is something completely new, like walking or crawling. So it's slightly slow to begin with, and you have to be quite patient, I think, really. But
I remember you phoning me in those first few weeks and saying, I don't think he's really taking much on, and you have to be quite patient and trust in them that they will do it. And I think you analyse, particularly with your first, quite a lot. You're watching their sort of what they're doing, but you just have to really sit back and let them get on with it. And now, looking back, you can hardly remember, really, because it's just...
No, and I think also you need to remember that up to 9 months, their main feed is milk still, isn't it? Yeah. So really, the baby-led weaning, even though they start at 6 months, as you would with puree or mush, it isn't their main source of nutrients in relation to filling them up. It's still very much about the milk, and also, you shouldn't give them meals when they're very hungry, because they don't associate food with something that's going to fill them up to start with, because they don't know what it is. No. So the idea is that you give them food when they're not really hungry, or sort of half an hour or so after they've had a milk feed, and you'll notice up to 9 months that the milk feed slowly decrease, don't they, as they start taking on more food. And you can see when they start swallowing, because it starts coming out in their stools and in nappies, and you can see the evidence of that they started swallowing. And it is very much a natural process, and even though, like you say, it's quite slow to begin with, and it's sort of hard to imagine, that it does very much happen like that, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
Your second son got on really well with it as well, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I think, like, as I say, with the first child, you're much more focused on what they're doing and everything is about them, and the second one has to fit in, and you feel more confident as a mum about what you're doing. I remember Josie, my first child, did gag quite a bit, which I felt okay about because I'd read about it, and I'll explain in our next vlog a bit more about it. But Elwood hardly gagged at all. That's my second child. But with her, I kind of wasn't quite sure when I was going to feed her initially, and whereas with him, if he was awake and we were having a meal, then he'd be sat at the table with us. And I think with her, I was thinking, comparing her to a lot of my friends who, most of them were doing puree, and thinking, oh, you know, they'd be talking about how much they're eating. And I was thinking, you know, she's still, you know, a few weeks in, and is she taking much on? But actually then a couple of months down the line, she was way ahead. You know, she was trying a lot more things than everybody else, and I didn't seem to be having the stresses that people were getting with puree, with refusing foods and
even taking puree out for lunches or things like that. Like,
it was a lot.
How do you heat up food, or do you just give them cold mush? And it's you know, as if you're doing baby led, you can give them finger sandwiches, or you can give them blocks of cheese or vegetables, or, you know, and it's like a sort of a mini picnic, isn't it, really, where it's you know, much more exciting and much more tasty, whereas sort of going out and about with puree and mush, it's just not, it's not great really, and it's quite hard to be very flexible with it, whereas baby led weaning is, we just found it just fitted in so well, didn't it? And obviously there's such an importance about eating with a family anyway, and it just brings that together really, and it kind of just it exaggerates that importance, doesn't it, of eating with your children and having that family time together. And you know, they just love being involved and sort of looking up to their elder brothers or sisters, and it's just a nice way of having that time as a family and eating together. So I think sort of first meals that went down really well with R2. I think I know Arlo, if I was cooking sort of spaghetti bolognese in the first sort of month or so, I know what I would tend to do with that was sort of leave chunks of beef mince and not mush it up, so that he could then pick it up with his fist and sort of suck on, or make meatballs with mince. So you cut them in half, and then you'd have a big sort of chunk of, you know, meatball he could pick up, and all the vegetables to start with, like the carrot batons and the broccoli florets and cauliflower florets, and that was all really good at the beginning, wasn't it?
And the roast dinners are a winner.
Ideal,
because you and with baby led weaning, they can eat meat straight away. You don't have to introduce different food groups at different times. So you can do a roast chicken and just give them the chicken breast sort of in strips that they can pick up, and then you can have all your veggies. They can have their roast potatoes. Just cut them into chunks.
Sweet potato wedges were another good one as well, and they're quite nice cold really, or just sort of doing roast vegetables. Is a good way of doing
Sometimes
it. Sometimes
I do perhaps like a batch of sweet potato, just cook in the oven, and then have some in the fridge, so that if perhaps there was a meal where they weren't going to be able to pick it up so easily at the beginning, like rice or something, then I could just put a sweet potato on as a side for the baby.
But then obviously you've also got, if you are having something that's more difficult for them, you've got all the sort of option of the fruit as well. So, you know, your banana segments, sort of large strawberry halves, pears, mango, melon, all that. So if they're, like you say, if there's some meals it was slightly more difficult, I'd give them maybe a selection of fruit as well as a couple of pieces of vegetables or something.
Because again, in that early stage, because of the milk feed as well, you don't have to worry about getting every single food group into every meal. Just it's giving them that opportunity to have a few things to choose from and to pick up and to try and chew and suck and swallow.
Normally advice is about 4 things on the tray at a time, isn't it? I think Jill Rapley says that sort of more than that can be a bit too much really anyway. So it's about giving them a few things and then keeping something to the side, and then once they've eaten that you can give them a few more bits. Because it's very much initially about investigating and experimenting anyway for them to start with. So having too much of an option on their high chair can be a bit overstimulating for them, can't it? So you know, and just to think about sort of colours and things like that maybe as well, sort of interesting colours and things that.
And then you can sit back and eat your meal and try not to sort of overfocus. I remember the first time ever that I gave Josie food, it was this big build-up. I was thinking, going to get her eating solids. And I thought, I'm going to have broccoli and tomato. It's really nice food. And I'll always remember what she ate the first time. And I put it on the tray and she just kind of battered it about. I don't think she really put it in her mouth. And I was a bit like, oh. But you know, so it's just trying not to put that massive focus on them, and they'll get it, and you just get on and enjoy your meal and chat away.
But that's the important thing, is about being relaxed, isn't it? Because if you're relaxed, then they're relaxed, aren't they? And so that's quite a big thing, really, is to make sure that you are relaxed with it, and just let them be independent and get on with it, really. So okay, so I hope you found this useful today, and if you're interested in learning more about baby-led weaning, then check out our site at Mini Munch Club, and if you subscribe, then we've got a 4-part free plan, how to get started with baby-led weaning, sort of how to prepare, and sort of good first few foods and recipes. So check it out.